Let's be real for a second. Ever feel like you're just drowning in modern life? The pressure, the anxiety, the never-ending stream of problems? It's so easy to think our struggles are brand new. But what if I told you that a super practical toolkit for handling all of it was written down almost 2,000 years ago? Well, today, we're going to crack open that ancient letter from James and see just how relevant it is right now.
Seriously, think about that. When you're facing a major challenge, at work, with your health, in your family, what's your first reaction? Is it joy? Yeah, probably not. Mine either. But what if that was the secret? What if that was the key to not just getting through it, but actually coming out stronger on the other side? Well, that's the exact kind of radical idea that a guy named James put in a letter all those years ago. Now, he was a major figure in the early Christian community in Jerusalem, and his letter, it's not some dense, heavy document. It's more like a practical field guide for people going through incredibly tough times. To really get this, we've got to understand the world this letter came from. This wasn't some philosophical essay written from a comfy chair. No, this was a message of hope sent right into the middle of a storm of persecution and chaos. So James starts out by identifying himself as a servant of God and Jesus Christ. And who's he writing to? His fellow Christians, who were, as he puts it, scattered about. I mean, they were literally ripped from their homes, torn from their communities. They were basically refugees facing incredible hardship in a world that wasn't exactly friendly. This letter was their lifeline. So what's the very first tool James pulls out of the toolkit for them? It's a total mindset shift, a complete reframing of how we see our problems. It's all about finding purpose in the pain. Now pay close attention to what he says here. Be joyful. James isn't saying you should feel happy the bad things are happening. That's absurd. He's saying to view it as a joyful opportunity, because that trial, that testing of your faith, is exactly what builds endurance. It's an active, powerful choice you get to make. And here's the bottom line. These trials aren't just random, meaningless punishments designed to break you. No, they're part of a refining process. The whole point of building that endurance isn't just to survive, but to become mature and whole, to get to a point where you're not lacking in anything. Okay, so enduring a trial is one thing, but what are you supposed to do when you're right in the thick of it? I know, I've been there, feeling totally lost and confused, and that brings us to the second tool James gives us. The advice here couldn't be more simple or direct. Are you feeling lost, confused, don't know which way to turn? James says the solution is straightforward. Just ask God. And I absolutely love how he describes God here. He gives generously and without reproach. That means he's not going to get annoyed with you or make you feel stupid for asking. And this really breaks down the two ways you can approach this. If you ask with faith, you're stable, you're grounded. But if you ask while filled with doubt, well, James says you're like a wave being tossed around by the wind. You're unstable, indecisive, and then he gets really blunt. A person like that shouldn't expect to receive anything at all. All right, so a lot of trials come at us from the outside world. But what about the ones that bubble up from inside? The temptations we all face. I know I do. Well, James gives us a tool to understand exactly where those come from. This right here is a really important distinction. It's so easy to blame God when we're struggling with temptation, right? But James draws a hard line in the sand. He says God can't be tried by evil things, and he doesn't try anyone with them. So if it's not coming from God, where does it come from? James lays out this clear, almost scientific four-step process. First, he says temptation doesn't start with God. It starts with our own desire. Second, when we feed that desire, it becomes fertile and it conceives. Third, it gives birth to sin. And finally, the unavoidable result of sin, when it's all said and done, is death. It's an internal process that starts and ends with us. And just to make sure we don't get it twisted, James paints this absolutely beautiful picture of who God really is. He's the source of every good gift, the constant, unchanging Father of the celestial lights. He is steady, reliable, and the source of pure goodness, not temptation. Okay, let's get to the last tool in the toolkit. And honestly, this might be the biggest one of them all. It's the huge difference between knowing all this stuff in your head and actually living it out. This is such a powerful analogy, and I think we've all been this person. James says that someone who only hears the word is like a person who just glances at themselves in a mirror. They see their reflection for a split second, flaws and all. But the moment they walk away, they totally forget what they just saw.
So here's the difference. The hearer just glances and forgets. But the doer? The doer peers into the perfect law, which is talking about the liberating teachings of Jesus, and they persist in it. They don't just walk away, they look closely, they study it, and they act on what they see. And the result? James says they will be happy in what they do. So what does this doing actually look like in real life? James doesn't leave us guessing. He gives us concrete, down-to-earth examples. It's caring for the most vulnerable people around us, the orphans and widows. It's about keeping your own integrity. And it's about mastering your own reactions. Being quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry.
When it all comes down to it, this is the core message of the whole thing. Real, authentic faith isn't just a list of ideas you agree with. It's a way of life that you can see in a person's actions. And that leaves every single one of us with a challenge. Listening to all of this has been like looking in that mirror. So the question is, what now? Are we going to be the person who just walks away and forgets, or are we going to be the person who sees something that needs to change and then actually goes and does it? What's the one action you're going to take?